Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta in a part of South Bombay that at least I never knew existed. This is Banganga, a spring near Balkeshwar temple, and what this is, there are claims that this came up during the times of Lord Rama. Who else can tell us more about it than Amish, who's just started his five-part or six-part series on Lord Rama.
Thank you.
You're done with Lord Shiva, I know.
No, I'm not done with him. He's always with me.
No, done with him in terms of writing. Nobody's done with Lord Shiva, unless he's done with you. So, what place is this? Just tell us, because it seems like it is linked to Lord Ram and the history or mythology of Lord Ram.
Well, the mythology of this place says that when Lord Ram was searching for Sita Ma, he had come to this place, and either he shot and he was tired, and either one story says that he shot an arrow into the ground and
a spring came out.
And a spring came out, which was a part of Ganga Ji. Another story says that he was tired, he asked Lakshman Ji for some water and he shot an arrow. That's the story.
That's the story. That's why Banganga. Ban is the arrow.
Exactly.
You said mythology. Is it history? Is it mythology?
I think the difference between mythology and history is history lays claim to the truth. Mythology lays claim to philosophy. The root of the word mythology is actually a Greek word called mythos. The dictionary meaning of mythos is very derogatory. But if you ask the Greeks, I traveled to Greece 10 years ago, if you ask them what mythos means, they say it is that which hides the truth, which hides philosophies. And I think that's the way we approach it. That's what mythology is.
Ask the Greek how to balance their budgets. You can ask them pretty much anything.
Ask them to find some way to convince the Germans to keep paying.
Well, I mean, for 50 years they've defaulted on their loans. So that's the reality, that's not a myth. No, look, if mythos is derogatory.
No, having said that, as an aside, if they had an independent currency, they would have actually been a lot better off, like Iceland. The mistake they made was joining the euro, but sorry, okay, I mean, that's a digression.
No, that besides. No, but you worked in banks and you worked in insurance, so you should know something about money more than I do. But mythology is still mythology. Mythology is word of mouth. Mere baap ne bola, my grandfather told my father, my great-grandfather told my great-grandfather, there are no records. And with each generation or with each mouth, as this sort of oral history travels, more embellishment and more spicing up takes place.
So sorry, the question is that
No.
That it's somehow negative.
No. So
I don't think so.
Myths do get built. So mythology
Yeah, so
is
does
about
every other
myths.
subject. History also gets built often on on sources that can at times be doubtful.
No, sure.
History has its own biases.
But history is debated.
There are things which are written down on mythology as well. Mythology is also debated, but it's not debated. The level of debate for a mythology is different. You don't debate mythology to figure out what the facts are. You debate mythology to figure out what is the philosophy at the root of it. So people debate mythology as well. The search is different. That's all.
So you can't use mythology, you can't apply mythology to decide what is history, or can you?
There are two different approaches. I'm not denying that. But what I want to say is that if you want to look among all subjects, there's only one subject which can lay claim to absolute truth. That's the subject of mathematics. Every other subject is biased by the observer, is biased by opinions, is biased by what facts become available to you at that point of time, is biased by our senses, as the materialists used to say.
But that besides, for history there is some physical evidence, empirical evidence. There is archaeology, there are ruins, there are scripts, there are
facts.
There are edicts, they are written on stone, there are facts.
But history itself is not just a retelling of those facts.
But at least it's based on
rather, it's not a list of those facts, it's an interpretation based on those facts.
But you can mythologize history also.
True. So, the point I'm trying to make is this, that you cannot lay the claim of absolute truth on either history or mythology. Forget about the humanities subjects, which are by their very nature a little more open to interpretation, but even the subjects, the scientific subjects.
You are a maths graduate.
I'm a maths graduate, yeah. I'm a lover of maths. Even in the scientific subjects, there are things that are open to interpretation. Theoretical physics is breaking so many boundaries now. We can't really be sure what we learned in school about physics is adequately correct or not.
That's the problem with imagination and imagining religion, imagining mythology, and applying it to history. I mean, for example, if you see this ritual that we see going on here, we are not sure if it existed in what you call as ancient times. Although Hinduism did exist, scriptures did exist, but nobody knows.
It probably wasn't called Hinduism those days, but But
some
yes,
form of Hinduism did exist.
the belief system,
Yes.
the philosophy system,
Right.
obviously.
Right. I mean, some gods were available to our imagination even then, right? Maybe we did not call them Ram and Vishnu or Shiv, but we call them something close, right? But ritual comes up over time. If you look at a Hindu wedding, for example, now, it has no relation to the wedding that may have taken in Lord Ram's times, if Lord Ram is a historical figure. Yet, in all our portrayal now, from Ramlila to Ramanand Sagar, it's a different interpretation. It's as if it's a common shadi now with feras and stuff. So that is mythologizing mythology. So are you also contributing to mythologizing mythology?
No, in fact, I would see evidence of rituals being updated as a sign of liberalism. That you adapt, you somehow keep the soul of the old, but add in the new, and that keeps it alive. There are many interpretations of the Ramayana. The version that's most popular in North India is the Ramcharitmanas. But what is the Ramcharitmanas? It's essentially a 16th century modernization of the original Valmiki Ramayana. For example, if you ask most North Indians, is Lakshman Rekha there in the Ramayana? Most of them will say yes. It's actually not there in the original Valmiki Ramayana. This is just one change. If you see the Kamba Ramayanam, which is
In the south.
popular in Tamil Nadu, not in all of the south, but in
Tamil Nadu.
like Karnataka is more Ramayana Darshanam.
Right.
But in the Kamba Ramayanam, of course Lord Ram is the hero, but the good points of Ravana are also shown. There's a very famous scene in the Kamba Ramayanam where Lord Ram praises Ravan and Ravan praises Lord Ram. And then they, going on, they actually battle with each other. This interpretation also exists. There's a version of the Ramayana called the Adbhut Ramayana, where Sita Ma kills Ravan.
Lakshman is advised to learn wisdom from.
No. I know this story is very popular in the north. It's not in the Ramcharitmanas. It's not the Valmiki Ramayana either. But yes, this story is popular in the north.
Definitely Ramlila, which is also mythology.
Yes. So, but the point is this I see as a sign of our innate liberalism. Because we somehow, and that's the reason why many of our myths stay alive. Because we keep the best of the old and we add in something of the new. To make it relevant once again.
Amish, if you look at this ritual, this is not liberal. Because ritual needs somebody from one caste. Incidentally happens to be your caste, right? But which
I
you
don't
have
believe in
dropped.
the caste
Which you have dropped. You've dropped your second name. But you are from Banaras. And I said your caste because your family comes traditionally from a family of pandits who perform ritual and pujas. So this creates, in fact, exclusivity and elitism and spiritual elitism, not liberalism.
What happens is, this is a very nature of society. Over time, elites get formed and they form their own rules to block entry. There's an elite in modern India as well, the Latin Israeli elite, which forms their own rules to block entry. It's a very nature of society. The point is, are there mechanisms in society to allow churning again and again? Where new elites rise, new people are given chances. My submission is, in ancient India, this mechanism certainly existed. You can see it in so many of the rishis listed in the Vajrasuchik Upanishad, who actually weren't born Brahmins. Even Maharshi Valmiki, who wrote the Valmiki Ramayana, he wasn't born a Brahmin. Maharshi Shakti, actually it should say Sapta Rishi Shakti, because he was one of the Sapta Rishis, which is like
One of the
the
7 great
highest
rishis, yes.
possible. There are various Sapta Rishis and various Manvantars, but he was one of them. And the Vajrasuchik Upanishad says he was born to a single lower caste mother. So which means there was a time where this flexibility was there.
But today,
When did we lose it?
if you were born like that, you will have a very tough time being in the top pantheon of the RSS.
Once again, I don't really comment on politics, but what I will say is this, that
Well, I think
I
RSS
would
would
love-
object to be called a political organization.
I would love a situation, and I've said this publicly. If Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar had been born 2000 years ago, he would have been accepted as a rishi. you read his books. I'm not just talking about the constitution that he drafted for us. You get the true intellectual, depth of a man when you read his writings, especially if they are long writings. And I read 2 of his books recently, and I've tweeted about it. And to me, it's depressing that his books are not taught to us. Who Are the Shudras and Pakistan or the Partition of India. His intellectual depth was immense. In my opinion, he is probably the finest intellectual among all our founding fathers. In ancient India, he would have been respected as a rishi. And that for us is a challenge that we as a society must do. That your status should be built on your karma, not on your birth. What we have today
and not on your
is a disgusting, caste is actually a Spanish word.
Right.
The original terms of Varna or Jati. Jati was what you were born into, the community you were born into. Varna is what you are referring to as caste, which is your status. That should be decided only by your karma. By what you do, not where you were born. In the Bhagavad Gita, for example, Lord Krishna says very clearly in the famous Chaturvarnyam couplet, where he says that I have created the 4 Varnas based on guna,